How nature versus nurture influences the brain. Think, think, think. Despite being basically literate, this silly old bear sure does a lot of thinking, or so he says. But what does it mean to think? Why doesn't everyone think the same? Thinking can be defined as simply gathering and processing information, and the way an individual processes information is as unique as the individual. Some people are labeled as gifted if they demonstrate a specified level of brain function determined by tools such as assessment scores and/or performance standards. Generally, these individuals process information with greater speed and accuracy than a typical person. This is due in part by the firing of the synapses in their brains. A popular example of so-called genius is the character Dr. Spencer Reid from the CBS television series Criminal Minds. His high level of intelligence helps the VAU catch the unsubs. These highly intelligent individuals don't just exist on television, they also live among us. They might not necessarily stand out because they're not always good at everything. However, they do have their strengths. My cousin qualified for gifted education services when he was in grade school. His mind works in fascinating ways. You can see his artwork throughout the greater Phoenix area. Mainly, he paints murals with nothing but Kansas spray paint. He even painted a 6-foot-tall shoe for the Phoenix Suns and has an artwork for the Valley Metro Light Rail. Now you might be wondering if these advanced talents are purely due to the nature of the individuals, or do they have anything to do with how those individuals are raised? The nature versus nurture debate is an age-old question. When I think of nature versus nurture, I think of a few people in my life. A friend of mine who was adopted met her biological father for the first time as an adult and discovered that she and him had a lot in common. Another friend of mine was a teenager when she learned that her aunt was not actually her cousin's mother. Rather, the biological mother of her cousin had passed away when her cousin was an infant, and the uncle remarried my friend's aunt. Since my friend's cousin looked and acted so much like her stepmom, my friend had no idea that they were not biologically mother and daughter. Lastly, I think of my mom's cousin who found her through Facebook. He was raised by who he thought were his mother and father, but DNA testing proved that his father was not actually his biological dad, but he had fathered some of his siblings. This prompted him to search for the other half of his family. Through the power of technology, he found my mom and her brother via Facebook. He paid for my mom to take the Ancestry.com DNA test, and the results indicated that they were highly likely cousins. A year ago, we got to meet him, and it was fascinating to see how much he looked and acted like us. In the end, I think who you are is determined by a variety of factors, including whether or not you are considered intellectually gifted, how you were raised, and your DNA. What I think is important is taking what you are given and using those tools to become the best versions of yourself that you can be.